Any business, whether you have a bakery, a pizza shop, whatever it is, find a way to stand out. And the best way to stand out, for us at least, is just having a strong hospitality concept. That's it.
What is the vision for the brand then? Is it to be national, international, local?
Anything that is service-based. For example, not only do you have a shop, but you also have a shop where it has a bar into it, retail space, a hotel, other areas that people come together.
Like a hub.
Exactly.
Who do you need to become to level up your business?
It all depends on...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Founders of Nick Season 2, Episode 4. We have an absolute cracker for you today. I'm super, super excited about this. I was having a morning coffee. I walked in to this shop, which was very welcoming. I said, look, any chance you can shave my head? And they said, no, come back tomorrow. There was a great vibe. Jay, I think shaved my head. Thank you, Jay. And I have the founder, entrepreneur of one of the best barbershops in Austin, Abel Olmos.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you having me, man.
With a long-winded opening.
No, I love that. Thanks, man. And I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, man.
Nope.
This means a lot. It will mean a lot to. It means a lot to me, and also, I know it will mean a lot to my team, and I hope that it also brings value to you also as well.
Absolutely. This is you are the epitome of why we started this.
Awesome.
So I'm going to mix things up a bit.
Go for
I'm
it.
not going to catch you off guard. I'm going to give you 3 levels of difficulty in terms of questioning. Okay. Really nice. Would you like a really nice, easy one to start the day? Would you like a medium one, which gets the brain thinking, or do you want a really bloody difficult one where you go shit?
Man, I'm ready. Let's do it. Whatever you think fits the vibe right now. Let's go for it. Let's flow.
I'm going to go with the hard one because I'm always interested in this.
Okay.
So, who do you need to become to level up your business?
Okay. Well, difficult one. I love that. Who do you need to become? That's a very difficult one because I think, in my experience, and again, very from my point of view, is it all depends on how you view yourself and having a lot of space for you to evolve from that, because you think you want to become someone, but in reality, the environment and the business is evolving that may require you to become somebody else. So I think that there's a lot of, you can have that vision and say, I want to become this person to take my business to the next level, or I need to change some behaviors and change some things, but don't be too strict on it. Be flexible, because the business is going to send you signals, whether that is more staff that you have to work with, whether it's a new client that you didn't expect to be working with, or partners. So I think that having a vision and say, okay, this is like a concept of who I need to become, but don't be too strict on it and be like, no, I need to be this person for things that, and sometimes it's, and I'm learning this and I'm saying it because I've experienced it, where I'm like, no, I need to be this, and things were happening where that thing didn't fit. So sometimes it's having flexibility and saying like, okay, I need to have a vision of myself, but I'm also not going to marry to that idea. I'm just going to thrive for it and see and have the environment dictate how I should mold it, and what shape and what form, and is it necessary sometimes? And sometimes also, Nick, it could just be like, I'm just gonna let the environment shape me, rather than having it so only on you and be like, I need to be this. Sometimes let the environment tell me what I need to be.
So you sort of need a North Star. I'm hearing you sort of need a North Star, but just don't be super rigid.
Absolutely not. Business is very sometimes unpredictable. And sometimes people, when you need to pivot, and it's going to require a different you right away. So,
and have you sold the shop now 6 years?
6 years now. Yeah.
What has been some of the big pivots maybe in that journey where you've gone, geez, you know what? Okay, this is now going to be different or difficult, or yeah.
Yeah, no. So, with us in the past 6 years, I think it started with not having a clear why. And what I mean by clear, we didn't have the words for it, but we were having something And it was hard for me to like find the words of like, what are we doing? But I know it's there. We just got to continue finding it. So I didn't have the why right away when I first opened up. And I think that one of the most pivoted moments was me really partnering up with one of my business partners now, which is Chris. He's like the main barber. I'm not sure when you went there the first time. He was in the corner. He had probably like a very like nice top, short guy,
Yes.
Latino. Yes,
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So he's my lead barber.
Okay.
And things didn't really, we finally together, he's been with me for 4 years now. And we finally together found the words that we need in order for us to be a little bit more clear on our North Star, on why we're doing what we're doing, and putting ourselves out there and experiencing downs, ups, and people moving on to other things and miscommunication happening, all the chaos. And I think that gave us a little bit more of like, okay, wow, things are now clear for us and we know what our strengths are. We know how the business is evolving, and we finally are in a good place in the past maybe year, is that we're finally in a good place where we know what our true product is.
Abel, really great insight. I think that's something with Founders with Nick where our audience, our core audience, they're people called founder curious, so that are in 9-to-5s and that are maybe flexing that entrepreneurial muscle, but aren't too sure how to do it. You mentioned your business partner, Chris. How... I mean, I've been in this position as well where I'm thinking, do I need a co-founder? Like, do I need that? And I still have no idea really how to even approach that, you know? But how did you find Chris? And B, what advice would you give for other founders that are looking for it? Do they need maybe another co-founder? I feel like sometimes you maybe limit yourself, but then again, I don't know. It's actually, it's a tough one. We got 4 co-founders coming on later on, so I suppose the question is, how did you find Chris, and how do you know it's a good match?
Yeah.
Would you say?
No, great question. So, I found Chris in 2021. He was coming out of school, barber school, and I just reached out to him. We were in need of barbers at the time, of an extra barber. The demand was high at the time, and I was like, man, I need a new barber. Who here? I looked him up on Instagram and in the barber school Instagram, and I bumped into him, and there was something about Chris that caught my attention, which was he had a very difficult background, but you can tell through his imagery, at least for me, I was able to pick it up, and probably was just like a reflection of me, was that he presented himself as someone who's evolving and someone who's kind of tapping into a new ground, and someone who's coming out from like an uncomfortable environment to something very new. And he was about to graduate. I invited him over. He was super excited. And, the fact that he had interest in the invitation, and he followed through and showed up. We hired him. He started with us, and you can tell that at the time he was just trying to figure things out. And I think that someone who is constantly figuring things out is a good sign of a leadership. Whether it was leading himself at the time, like, I need to figure this out. Again, we were early on in our business, so things were a little chaotic. A little bit of like, we don't know what we're doing, but we're figuring it out. Just take people, treat them nice, and we'll develop from there. I'll continue bringing people. Even my role, I thought it was limited too, because I was like, well, I think this is what I need to do. But Chris was always like, I saw him improving himself. I saw him with leveling up his skills. You really were able to pick up on someone who was looking forward to become the best version of themselves. And I think that he also saw that I was someone who thrives for something very similar. Although we had a very like A to B conversation, like, hey, you good? You need anything from me? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'm moving on. And because I had other projects at the same time happening. So until one day, Chris just reached out to me and we connected, and he's like, hey man, like, I want to work closer with you, and I want you to tell me things that I don't know that will help me in my career. And I was like, okay, wow, like I didn't think that barbers wanted my role to be more closer to them. So Chris sort of like allowed me to mentor him in some way directly. So we began talking almost every day, and I was just giving him gems. Anything that I learned, I will share it with him, my point of view, my perspective. So, someone who has a desire to constantly be better. So with that time, building that trust, having great communication, experimenting with each other, you get to build a really good relationship. And I was like, hey man, like, I want you to be the lead barber. We have a lot of guys that would need your point of view and your leadership and your guidance for them to become the best barbers. And since my skill set is limited, you have a skill set I don't have yet, and I want him to like take on the role of like lead, not only because of his skills, but also Chris is a great person, and he walks the talk, right? So that's someone who I trust, and yeah, we've been together for 4 years, working together, ups and downs. I call him when I'm like frustrated, and he listens, and I think that's really, we have a really good friendship. He's one of my best friends, so I appreciate him.
How do you provide a safe space for your barbers to fail in?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that we talked on Friday about the word failure.
Yes,
it's not something. It's something that I'm trying to erase the word exactly from like my programming, because failure, at least in our place, doesn't fit, because we make sure that you have another chance. Failure sounds very ultimatum and like, you failed, that's it, brother. Have a good one, move on. With us, it's like, man, just, you did the thing, make adjustments, and try to avoid it again.
Maybe a really silly question, but when you screw up somebody's hair, right? And this is maybe just me thinking out loud, but if you screw up somebody's hair, how the hell do you regain their trust again? I mean, that for me is, shave my head is easy, right? I'd be amazed if anybody screws that up. But I can imagine somebody with long flowing locks, like yourself, and they come in and Jay or whoever, Chris just goes, "Oh, I've had a really bad day," and screws it. How the hell do you go, "Look, Terry, really sorry about that. It's free. Please come back and we'll show you what we can actually do." I'm just curious to.
That's it right there. I think what it has happened.
Yeah.
It has happened. It happens to the best of us. It happens to all of them at some point. A lot of it could be from like miscommunication from the beginning. Sometimes the clients don't know what they express what they want, so we try to kind of like put it together, and sometimes we miss the mark. Sometimes it's like, oh, I thought you wanted this, and they wanted something else. So that happens. And one of the things that I try to tell the guys the best I can is it don't make it awkward. Don't make it a thing, but be natural and say, hey, things didn't go the way that you expected. I am so sorry. But we'll love to either discount the haircut or give it to you for free. My guys do a very well job at that. For my guys, they take so much pride in their work that they don't mind giving something for free if they feel that they didn't give the results the customer wanted.
No, I was just more of a personal question. I've always been curious. I've always just been curious. So like, you screwed it. Okay.
Yeah, and what I mean by that, don't make it a thing, is don't make it awkward.
Of course.
Just be like, hey, I am so sorry, man. Like, I didn't think that.
I think the worst would be to stay silent and go, yeah, done.
Yeah, no, my guys take accountability, and that's why we show the product at the end and the results, so the clients can really see it and be like, hey, tell me anything that I missed or anything you want. And that's a good moment to be human. And if you screw up at the time because of whatever communication, it's a good time to just, human about
How do you stop because I think, being a founder, I always get such imposter syndrome when I say that about me. But being a founder, how do you stop a toxic work environment? We had Nick Vang and Leopold Henriksen, two guys from Denmark, on, and they have quarterly meetings where they just go into a room, speak about like all the problems they've had with each other, and then just neutralizes it. I'm wondering, in the barbershop, do you guys have like a Friday morning, right, let's clear the air chats, or how do you? Because I've been in cultures where when it's really toxic, it's really difficult, especially when you have a high performer but low trust. Those are toxic people.
Yeah.
Low trust. Somebody said, if you can't leave them with your wife and kids, that's a problem.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because and actually it was from the Navy SEALs. They said if that guy's in a tour in Afghanistan, you can't leave him alone with the wife and kids or whatever, then you don't trust him.
Yeah.
And that's really bad. How do you, in a barbershop, I can imagine it's still quite you can get you close to people, it's intimate. I can imagine there's friction. How do you guys resolve a lot of the conflicts and make it not a toxic environment?
We hold meetings monthly. The first Saturday of the month, we meet up and we sort of align. We make it mandatory. If we miss a Saturday because people are traveling or they have other things, we do it the following Saturday, like this one coming up. It's very difficult because you try to we're in the people business, and my barbers are human beings, and you sometimes it's like hard to read in a way, because you're like, maybe he's having a bad day, and then a week later, oh, he's having another bad day, and you're like, maybe he's just, and then the next days are cool, right? So that could become toxic too. But you try to see them as human beings, and you try to just like, okay, you're going through it. That's fine. All good. But I think that as a leader, you gotta just kind of like pay attention a little bit to make sure that, is it like a mood and that's normal. People go through, people have their bad days,
of course,
or is a character thing. So I think it's yeah, man, it's hard because, one, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I try not to jump and say you're toxic off like one thing.
Yeah.
And I had that situation last year. I sort of just kind of like, I do like the feds or the FBI do. Like I let time just like collect enough evidence before I be like, this is not for you. But I let things just like pile up, because one situation doesn't determine one person. One mistake doesn't determine a person. Things just happen, but you have to give it time and really catch those patterns for a little bit before you kind of like call it toxic or things like that. But I think also bringing in that trust in that circle, for example, I have Chris, who kind of gives me that extra eye and be like, hey, am I seeing this correctly? And sometimes he shares his perspective, and he's like, am I seeing this properly? And I'm like, well, let's figure it out. Time tells you everything. But I think handling it is not handling with the intention of fixing it anymore. I was doing that.
Ooh.
Yeah, like I can't fix it. I'm here to just kind of like say, hey, is this or that?
That is a beautiful phrasing of the situation. You can't fix it. Something we all want to do, right? We all want. I don't know why. Is it like a psychological thing?
Yeah, it is.
It must be, isn't it? Broken
has to
fix. You're like, no, just calm down.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting. I think I do it in all aspects of my life. When I see something broken, I'm like, right, go on. It's like if I see, I've got a really bad reputation at telling people to quit their job and start a business. By the way, it's so bad.
Yeah.
My best mates are always like, language. You can't keep telling people to quit. They might really because they look broken. You're like, just leave them alone. Yeah. Stop fixing everybody. But tell me about the toxic thing last year. You mentioned it just then about or the confrontation or the situation.
I mean, I think that after a little bit more about me, like I think that I've experienced. I grew up in New York, so I've been sort of trained to be hyper aware. I think that especially growing up in the Bronx, you become hyper aware of a lot of things, people, your environment, your neighbors, the situations that's outside. So when I moved to Austin, I still have that sort of mentality of like, I have hyper awareness, like, okay, where things are at, who's this person, how they doing things. It's good and bad. Sometimes you could go really deep into it with no need. But in this situation, I give people the benefit of the doubt. You're cool. People present themselves as cool, but it only lasts so long when you're faking it, right? After a while, you kind of like, you start performing and you start becoming who you truly are. And I think part of what makes it even easier, Nick, to catch a toxic person or someone who creates toxic environment is when you have a standard and you have an environment that is designed and structured a certain way, and it's designed for a specific
I see.
set of people.
I'm with you.
The other outliers are easy to catch.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And they won't adapt either. That what even makes it even more toxic. People who are not willing to adapt to an environment that, man, it took time, it took a lot of learning, it took a lot of trial and errors and iteration. And when people come in, people, especially people who haven't done half of the things you have done, coming in as if they are like, they know better than you. And you're like, cool, if you know better than me, show me. Like, my environment, also like my space is designed for you to like improve it. But if you can't improve it, then
what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
It will show who you are. That's the crazy thing. Like, I think that our shop, it's in such a great place right now because we really designed it and created a culture for others to thrive on it. But if you don't come if you're already toxic from outside, the shop is just gonna naturally highlight this big spotlight on you, and it's wild. And you know, sometimes the more time you give it, because you have to give people some time to adapt and be like, hey man, this is just different. This is different. And if they don't, if they're not open to something new, it's not so much of like adapt, it's just be open to something new, because we have seen that this has worked for a lot of people that has come through this.
Do you know, but as I'm listening to you, I think being in the barber industry is probably one of the last bastions of a human to human relationship. I think the big thing, I'm sure you've heard those letters, A and I together, and that has just been storming the world the last 12 months.
Absolutely.
But actually, I'm just thinking about it. The barbershop, I mean, there is just no tech. I mean, I can't, and I'd maybe be interesting to see if that can be incorporated. I don't know how, but you really are in one of the last service to like human to human interaction.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
it's so, can you streamline anything though from a tech perspective?
Absolutely. We have, and we're exploring some options too. And I think that part of it will be around like either pre-service or post-service. So maybe when you book an appointment, there may be some options for you to perhaps like, hey, Nick, based on your last visit, this is what we recommend for your next, these are the most popular haircuts. Will you like something that is like similar to this? Like, I can see the AI and tech improving on pre-arrival and post-arrival.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Maybe during. Somehow, but not like an skill itself, because that is such a art form. And I don't think that hands are just special. And Chris's touch is not the same as Saul's touch and vice versa. So there's this special thing that is very custom to barber to client, but everything else around it could be like tech.
I'm sort of thinking about like going on your website, you know, making a booking through the link, I don't know, maybe filling out a form or maybe sending a voice note to the barber. Yeah. I think it'd be quite cool. I don't know. Yeah. Or sending something to the customer. Maybe like, I like Hennessy on the rocks as well. Or, you know, just trying to elevate that.
Like, hey, would you like anything of these options? Yeah, it's good for you, and then we kind of have that information before you arrive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was bang. I remember when I went in, I was like, "This vibe's great."
Yeah, thanks.
I walked in. The music was good. You guys, that's important, by the way. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
I think
thanks,
the atmosphere. Yeah. But you mentioned there the Bronx. I was born in Greece, Athens. Grew up in Hong Kong. Very lovely life, by the way. What was it like growing up in the Bronx? I mean, this doesn't sound like super easy or convenient. I mean, you mentioned about looking over your shoulder and stuff. I mean, like, how was it? How was that?
Yeah, man. I moved to the Bronx at the age of 15. I experienced 9/11 out there. That first summer, I moved. I think it was like in June of 2001, and like September, a few months later, 9/11 happened. That already there sort of shifted things for me a little bit. Like, looking back at the moment, I think it was just like processing. Oh snap, what's going on? So I experienced a different New York, early 2000. It was different. But man, one thing about the people there at the time, New York is different now. And at the time, it was, growing up was just like, you know, Dominican, no English, going to school, a school environment with people that I was just like, man, I am like a little fish here. Like, this is like I don't know. My brain couldn't just like process everything at once. I was so young. But then, you find a crew of people that you relate to, that you grew up with, and have similarities. Like some of my friends were like, man, like I wasn't born here. I was raised here. And we all were sharing that story. We had such a tight connection to back home. And, growing up in the Bronx the Bronx is one of those boroughs that are super special, with a lot of special people. Due to some of the lack of resources, it's hard to kind of like get out of there. And it's a different mindset, a different set of beliefs. Sometimes the culture where you come from doesn't align with the American culture that it's already there.
I bet.
So sometimes you try to hold on to your culture back home, and then it doesn't, the current environment doesn't allow you to like really push forward, because then you have to pay bills. There ain't no time for you to hang out with your friends and have that community, that sense of community around you, like you had it back home, where, hey man, like it's someone have food for you, someone will give you a ride to run an errand, like that type of thing. And I think that you're very on your own when it comes down to the environment in New York City. I think that's very common.
I bet. I especially like to think about the food and giving people a ride in, I think, especially in Greece, everybody just wants other people to win. They're like, oh, let me get you that, or have another drink on me and stuff. Yeah. And I definitely feel like London doesn't really have that at all.
And imagine that with like ignorance and a lack of education, lack of support. And some people move there because they want a better life. And I think that culturally, the better life at the time was work, send money back home, and build your retirement. I think that was like a lot of people's mindset. And it worked at some point. A lot of people from the immigrants, that worked perfectly at a different economic time and a different American culture. Now, I think that people are so submersed into their regular job that it becomes their identity. And the identity, I think what makes it even worse for them to evolve is that when your job is a superficial thing made up by someone who just wrote a title, and you start identifying with this like artificial concept, it gets to you, because you're also trying to figure out what does the VP even mean, right? Like, what do you mean marketing director? Okay, I'm just gonna like wing it and figure it out, rather than being like, okay, what makes me a marketing director? Like looking at it from the opposite way of like, what does the ideal, again, going back to that North Star, I was like, what does the ideal marketing director look like? And being flexible in your way there. I think that's the best way to, but we're all trying to find identity within ourselves, I think.
Oh yeah.
Constantly.
What a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. We're all trying to find identity, and I get it. We all want to be part of a tribe. We all want to be, especially in social media these days, there's this like push and this like narrative and programming of like, you are your own boss and you're this, man. Like, Nick, you and I know people that their current position where they're currently at right now, it's not where they meant to be. That's not where like God or the universe, whichever you believe in, did not assign you for that. And you know it. Deep down, you're kind of like, I am not that guy. Like, I know I'm not the marketing director. I wasn't born to do this. Yep. I just picked this up because it gave me status. It pays my bills. This is so you're taking on a role that you wasn't naturally. The world is telling you that's not who you are.
Abel,
it's quite wild.
It's fascinating because you sort of put on a costume. Really?
Yeah, insane.
You sort of put on this costume, and I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen it. I can think of a handful of people already, and there's some of them have got cash and all these things, and I'm like, you hate the job. Yeah. I'm like, and what the funny thing is nobody actually cares. I know I've said this a few times on my LinkedIn posts, but nobody actually cares. Like, apart from you. And when and our listeners now, as I said to you before the show, there's a lot of them that are in 9 to 5s and they're trying to break out, and they're scared of failing. They're scared of a lot of things. What would you say to them though? If somebody, let's even go super niche. Let's say somebody wants to open a barbershop, right? And they're in a normal corporate 9 to 5 now, and they fucking hate it. and they're trying to get out, and they probably got 10K worth of credit card debt and $2,000 in the account.
Mhm.
What would you say to those people?
A lot of things. I was one of them. And I think that, at least for me, is start small. Start small and figure it out if it is for you. And the reason is because I think that a lot of times we think that we're that because we've been, again, social media and the internet is now pushing people to be entrepreneurs. It's like, first of all, find out if you even like to build anything. Find out if you even like to market anything. Find out if you're even good at selling something, right? Like, I will even be like, go to one of your friends that own a business and be like, hey, we'd love to intern, just to get an insight if I even like this. Because entrepreneurship is not like just, again, going back to the title, people want the title. But what is it about entrepreneurship that you're like, I want to be that? Because it's hard, man. Like it's difficult, especially when you're in the direct business of people and working with them. So for me, I think it's like, start small. Figure out if you love the finance aspect of things. Find out if you love selling, because you have to sell. Like, one thing about entrepreneurship, this is not for the shy. This is not for the people who have like fear of talking to others. This is like, you have to be front and center, all lights on you, in the middle of the stage with 30,000 people watching you. That's how it feels. So you have to be okay to know if like that's who you are and you're okay with that. And if not, and you really still want that and you're not there yet, work on that. Like, you could still be like, okay, I want to be this, but I gotta work on these small things and be okay with it, because it's not easy. Not everyone. All that also is like marketing, right? Like, you got to put yourself out there. You got to put your product out there, whether it's good or not. Do you like building a product? So I think it's also always good, like, to start small and figure out like, what is it about these things? Because sometimes you think it like it's entrepreneurship, but sometimes it's just like, oh man, I love selling.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a good salesperson. Let me open a sales agency.
Yeah.
Like you did.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's those things where I'm like, man, I hate the finance aspect of it, but I'm pretty good at marketing. I'm pretty good at like mentoring others. And maybe in this other areas, I'm not like great, but at least I'm really good at this other things, and be okay with a little bit of all of that. So
what would, great answer. Just digesting that. What would your barbers say if they were here? What would they say? What you like to work with, and your strengths and weaknesses are?
Yeah, man. I think, man, I love my barbers. We have a really good relationship with all of them, and I'm lucky to have the crew that I have right now. I have other crews. It's kind of like a cycle, but the crew that we have right now, I'm blessed to have them. They're great, and I think that what they will say about me is that I think I'm a cool dude, man. Like, I think I'm cool. You know, I think I'm cool. They get along with me.
Smile. So, listeners, if you're not watching, Abel's smiling. Big. It's
Thanks,
a big smile.
They think I'm cool. You know, I think I think a lot of the things that I do and say is new to them, since I've been doing content and I've been running small businesses, and this is my third attempt, well, probably a little bit more. But I've done projects in other ways and didn't work out for multiple reasons, but not because of the lack of will. So I put myself out there to experiment and do different things. So I learned a lot. So I try to bring those learnings into them, but it's still new to them. So a lot of it is a lot of the things that I say or explain to them or show them, it takes them a little bit to understand this, since they haven't experienced it. I'm 39, so a lot of them are younger.
You are not 39.
I'm 39 years old.
Get out of town. You look 25.
Oh, man.
What
thanks,
is going
dude.
on
And I didn't shave or anything.
That is bonkers.
Crazy.
You really think that?
I'm
Fantastic.
39, man. Yeah, thanks, man.
Fantastic.
And and I think that I think that part of it is I still have so much more to go. I mean, I'm in this game forever. This is not something that I'm going to ever quit, whether it's like doing the barber industry or I'm going to just a little bit more about me, I have a product manager background. So I built software, apps before. I built my own beard oil line. So that triggered where we at now as a barbershop. So there's been a lot of experimentation in terms of like my experiences, but all of that comes from putting myself out there and figuring out like where are my strengths and what are my weaknesses. I think one of my weaknesses is that I have visions. I have a lot of visions for each one of my barbers, but also for the business. And I think sometimes I think my vision are just, they're still too early. And there's this like conflict on like, yo, I want to do this, I want to do that. And they don't understand it yet because we're not there. But I'm still so early on that for a lot of people, it feels foreign. I think that we can counter that. So communicating, so I think like dialing things back a little bit could be a strength that I can work on, but a weakness that I need to like address because I want to do so many things and I'm inspired constantly of like so many ideas. Like creating a series on one person for like a month of this one guy who does artwork and he has a badass haircut every single time, but it's not like highlighting the haircut itself, it's highlighting the person. So I don't think that's something that any other shop is doing. Probably after this they will. But but I think it's just like thinking outside the box in a way that doesn't feel like so in your face, so in your nose. Like I don't need to present that someone has a haircut from my shop where I can just show the person with a great haircut and tell the story. Ultimately, it's going to tie in back to my shop anyways, because we're the one producing it. But I think that sometimes there's this like concept that we both, anyway, those are just ideas that are, that I think about. And sometimes I'm early on it, and I experiment. Sometimes it just doesn't go the way we want it to. And, we're just like, all right, well, we early on, let's put a pin on that and we'll come back to it later.
Are you looking for any investment in your shop? Is there a VC is there a VC fund, do you think, if somebody said to you, Abel, by the way, we want to give you $5 million US or $1 million US, do you think you'd entertain that conversation?
I would love to entertain it 100% because I think that the visions that we have, Chris and I, it probably will require more funding, more resources. And another thing that I think is a strength too is that we work with what we have. We're very scrappy. We want something that look fancy. We're gonna like find the thing at a cheaper price that still would align with the fancy thing, that the vibe that we want. Again, being flexible with the outcome, with the process, I think helps.
And what is the vision for the brand then? Is it to be national, international, local?
Ah, man, ready for this? We really want to expand more into the hospitality industry. I think that that's where our barbershop is going to evolve as we go. And what I mean by hospitality is anything that is service-based. For example, not only do you have a shop, but you also have a shop where it has a bar into it. You also have a shop that has like retail space. You also have a shop that has a hotel. You also have a shop that has other areas that people come together where you, like you said earlier, like still like people to people type of environment.
Like a hub.
Like a hub, exactly. Where people come and shoot content, where people come and not only look good, but also I can go on a date and have a nice meal, and very curated type of vibe. I think that's what
I just thought of a really wacky concept for your hospitality thing. I've got this vision of like getting people to have their first haircut. So a barber who's an aspiring barber, but he doesn't know where to go, or you mentioned maybe an internship, but like a vision of like newbie of the week, where it's like an open door policy, and you come in and then you can cut maybe an old cut, maybe a seasoned customer's hair, or somebody that doesn't mind if it's shit, but almost you have like a blank canvas for that guy, that young guy or young girl.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and then I can, because you love social media, which we'll get onto, and your content, but I can really see that being a series of like newbie of the week, or green cutter of the day, or something. Somebody comes in, my name's Tom. I've been following you, Abel, for ages. Yeah. I'm going to cut this guy's hair.
Yeah.
And this is going to be it. And then at the end, you either offer him an internship for a week, or it's a goodbye?
No, I love that, and again, like that could go into more of the content, and we do invite young barbers to come and intern with us and just like observe the environment, because a lot of times, especially in the barbershop industry, there's still so much more growth to go in the industry itself. I think that a lot of times barbershops have and I think a lot of it comes down to like education and the way that barber school sometimes sort of like program these guys. And I use the word programming because a lot of these young guys are very receptible to influence. They get influenced easily. So I think that a space like us will at least, being exposed to a place like ours will give these young talent an idea of like, oh, I can go to something different. I don't have to kind of stay in the same environment that I'm used to or that I've been going to. A lot of barbershops are community barbershops. So like shops that are right there in your neighborhood, and all your barber went to high school with you. And right. So I think that if I want to become a barber, I need to be, for me at least, I will probably end up in the same environment I was hanging out with. For us, it would be like, the schools bringing young guys to our environment so they can see that there's an alternative. Whether they come with us or not, at least there's like, man, this shop is really nice, and they will guide you. They will do other things. Maybe I'm not ready to start yet, but I know it exists. That to me is enough. Just having that awareness that a place like ours have like mentorship and business, sort of like a business structure that helps you be financially stable and create good relationships.
How do you deal with competition in Austin? How is that something? So I speak to a few founders and they've said that they ignore it totally. Some say they look over their shoulder now and then, and the others are just lasered on their own product and service. Is that something you have a meeting with like once a month about looking at other shops, about how they're attracting new business, or are you very much with you and Chris going, right, this is what we do, this is how we do it?
I used to look at competition a very traditional way, in the way of like, we're fighting for the same market, or we're fighting for that, like, that piece of the market. And I used to look at it as like a fighting thing. I no longer do that. I think that once you find the environment, once you create the culture, once you really hone into your product, once you hone into your team and the people that you serve, I think that competition, the feeling of competing with another business, goes away. Maybe it's not competition. I think I look at other barbershops now as like inspiration. Like I look at other shops in a way of like, as if I'm looking at my cousin and being like, man, I want to know like what can I do with him? Right? Like I want to hang out with him. I want to see what they're up to. Man, it's so crazy because no matter how many shops open up, my shops is always going to find a way to stand out. I think that competition at the time felt very difficult, because meaning comparison, because I was like, man, I need to like catch up to these guys. But the moment that I was like, man, I'm gonna carve my own lane, we're gonna do our own thing, Chris, we're gonna like do this, you kind of, competition just goes away, because you were trying to catch up with them rather than catching up with yourself. And we still had a lot of work to do, right? We still were trying to figure out so many things that at some point competition just goes away. After 6 years, Nick, I've competed with a bunch of shops that no longer exist. And it was hard. But once even if there is a shop that parallels with us, I always catch it for some reason. I'm like, I need to go left now. Okay, pivoting, right? Like
pivoting,
being like, yo, like you're getting, it's very similar to us, and they probably don't realize it, right? Maybe they are inspired by us, or we're inspired by them. But I'm always looking at like, I need to go different. Like I need to do something else. Like I don't want to be, I think that the whole point is for each business to feel that they need to stand out without competing directly. Like, it's kind of like, man, like, I want to have my own personality. I want my shop to have its own vibe that speaks to the other person. And there's so many people, Nick. It's just about finding, like, any business, whether you have a bakery, a pizza shop, whatever it is, find a way to stand out. And the best way to stand out, for us at least, is just having a strong hospitality concept. That's it. That's it. If I can give you a drink versus another place can offer you just water because they believe they're non-alcoholic, that stands out on its own anyways, right? With us, a little bit of a mix, and that also stands out. So I think that hospitality will, once you have a locked-in hospitality concept, and that is like the bloodline of your business, the notion of competing goes away.
So yeah, fascinating, Abel. Really, really fascinating. Wanted to ask you about maybe the shots that you didn't take earlier on in your career. So a lot of people would be listening who will want to obviously quit their job or try and grow as a person, but aren't quite doing it for whatever reason. I guess the question is, how did you? When did you really start to think, okay, I need to like fucking sort myself out now? Like, this is it. You mentioned you had product background, product management, made some apps. Obviously, 6 years now at the Barbashop. So, like, in your mid-20s, then I'm thinking, like, well, did you wake up one day and went, right, I need to sort my life out now?
Yeah. What was that moment? More, I think that, working with other barbers and working with other people, I find out that one, I think it's just a matter of time. But also, like, for those who feel ready, avoid distractions. I think that a lot of times we spend too much time like consuming the thing to convince ourselves, and then it feels like, oh, I'm doing it because I'm reading about it. Or I'm doing it because I'm watching a video. Leave all of that. I just don't read. I'm not saying don't read books, but if you looking to start, stop consuming and start creating. I think that's like one of the best things I've done is that I stopped consuming things that will convince me, or like, oh, I'm not ready yet, or I'm not doing this, or I don't feel like it's, of course there's a sense of like creativity that you're trying to find the muse, you try to find the thing, but that's different than like I'm waiting to start because I don't know where to start. There's definitely a difference. I think that if you're waiting to start, stop consuming things that are going to motivate you. Like, just wake up, don't think about anything, and just go into flow state. Find a way that you go into flow state that you just get it done. Even if it's just one time a day, just one thing a day that helps you get there. That's all. All you need is an hour. Okay, in an hour, I can do multiple things. Okay, let me just stop consuming. Oh, I need to read this because I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure.
Sometimes it's like a lot of these things are not like, there's no manual. You think there is, right? But there is none.
There is no manual.
Not
We're
at
both
all.
smiling. There is no manual because obviously, yeah, I mean, when I quit my job and I was like, fuck. I was like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great feeling, by the way. It's also very lonely. I don't know if you found that. I found it very lonely. When I quit, I told my dad and my mum, who both were scared, naturally. I'm an only child, so I didn't have any siblings. And I think that was it. And it was quite a lonely experience. People just say, and that for me is the sweet spot. When you quit your 9 to 5, think, fuck it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Because the worst thing is you just go back to that job.
Sure.
Just go back to that job. And then you're telling me, if a barber opened his own barbershop in Austin, failed, and came to you, said, look, Abel, I did wood cuts for 2 months and went under. You're telling me I would hire that guy more, weirdly, because he's got entrepreneurial, grit, vigor.
Absolutely. He gets it.
I would hire those people. Where are these people?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The thing is that that's another thing, right? Like the moment that you find a sense of like control, because that's what business does to you. It gives you a little bit of control. Like, oh man, I get to like say this and that happens. Like, wow, like that's pretty dope, right? Like it's addictive, right? You say something and I think that the moment that you find that, I think it's hard to kind of like go back to a regular 9 to 5. You find a way to not go back. If you do great, right? But I bet you that once you're there, 6 months down, you're going to be like, I need to get out of here. right
Do you
away.
know, I have.
Yeah, you'll go back, but you're gonna be like,
I
I
haven't
need
picked
to.
my stomach because I couldn't think of anything worse. Right now, like,
And Nick, I think about, right? Like, I think about sometimes like employers. What do they feel when they look at people like us who are like driven, who want to have a vision and we want to execute things? How do they look at us being like, what you're doing, it's not impressive. Like it's made me miserable and it's making a lot of people miserable. How do you convince them to like make the shift to give them a little bit of like, to give everyone else a little bit of breathing room? Because maybe some people are not necessarily want to have, sort of like being entrepreneurs and do their own thing. Sometimes people just want to be creative at what they do at work.
Oh, I love that. Big difference. You need to give people a sandbox. And I think that's really powerful. Yeah.
I agree.
You need to give people a sandbox. I think if you micromanage people, we talk about it on the show the whole time, micromanaging's a death nail for a business. Yeah. I think at least, you know, like I love tabling things with you know, my team. I love like failing quick. You know, that didn't work, that worked. You need to give people that safe space.
Yeah, 100%. And you'd be surprised because if you're doing Excel sheets every day, all day, you're kind of like, I have a shortcut. Yeah. I know how to do this more efficiently. But because you have a manager that says you got to do it this way and that way, you're like, you're stuck. So I think that kind of makes people a little bit even more like, oh, I don't enjoy this because I'm following somebody else's manual when I already have one in my mind for it.
Well, Abel, that was fascinating. We've got maybe a couple of minutes left.
I got you. No, man, sorry, I took over.
No. It goes by so fast. But this is the part of the show where the tables are turned, ladies and gentlemen, and you get to ask me some questions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we've got a few moments, so yeah.
I got you. Don't worry, Nick.
Rapid
fire.
Rapid fire. I don't know, listeners. I don't know any of the questions.
Not at all.
Stop DMing me saying I know them.
I got you.
But
all right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, Nick. So tell me, like, what are you thinking in terms of like the team that you have? Where do you visualize them working with you in the next couple of months? And I'm not gonna say years because I feel like that's too uncertain. But like, what does a couple of months look like for you and your team? I
think just more agency for themselves. I want them to lean on me, not when things go bad, but also when good. I don't want to be a total firefighter. I want people to love working in my business, LNGR. I want people to, if they have children, see their kids. I want people to earn good money. I want people to be respected. I want them to be like, oh, you know, I'm proud of, I love working here. And actually, if they don't, that's absolutely fine. Just let me know, please. I want to build a business which I never had, and I want to be a boss, which I think was, they always say, be the boss you wish you had, right? So I want to be able to be, you know, a bit of humility. I want them to have if they need anything, you know, I want them to have a holiday when they want a holiday. I don't want them to check their phone every 30 seconds. I don't want them to have anxiety. I think that's probably easier of what I don't want them to have. And I want people to have fun and also be high performing. Right? And I personally believe that you can still be a high performing individual without being a dickhead. I just don't buy this like rhetoric, which is, oh, he's a dickhead, he's high performing. I think you can be high performing and still have a bit of empathy. You know,
do you think you're early on in your concept in terms of like how people who are who are currently stuck in their jobs and people who may want to join your job, your company? Do you think that you're early on in that concept where a lot of people still like, well, I don't know if that's gonna work?
Well, the business works. So LNGR is a sales agency for private markets. That works. We've got fee paying clients. We're getting results for them. I just need a more high performing individuals. You know, we're small, less than 10. But I don't think it's a risk anymore. I think the risk was first 6 months with minimal income. Yeah. I didn't get paid. I had no income for like 100 days.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, this is tough. And then I Googled jobs one afternoon. I was like, this is now getting reckless. Yeah. And then we got 2 clients. No. So I was like, okay. But no, I don't think it's a risk joining us. If that's not anymore. I think it would have been maybe 6 months ago.
Copy.
Maybe a year ago. You know, I'm sure like, you know, oh, this is an idea. Yeah, but now I've de-risked it. Okay, that's a great thing as well if you're looking to get into the business. Find a founder that's done it, proven concept, maybe be employee 3 or 4. Perfect. De-risked it for you.
For sure.
And you still get equity. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Another thing so one more thing, I don't want to skip because I think it's important. What's your company's like feedback process? with each other? How do you manage that?
Yeah, super great question. Very open and honest feedback. It's very difficult to give feedback because some people take it really personally, and that's really difficult for the individual.
Yeah.
We try and make it not personal at all. I genuinely like giving feedback on a walk. I don't know why. I feel it's a lot more personal than just calling someone up saying, "Hey mate, you fucked it, get better," which is obviously terrible advice, but I try and do an activity with the individual, like a walk or maybe a coffee, and say, "Look, by the way, you're doing really well in these areas, but these maybe need a little bit more, improvement. Why is that? Is there anything I can do better?" I try and empower my employees. My employees, I sound so wanky when I say that, but I just want to empower people.
Yeah.
I feel like you could, so, but you can tell immediately, and big red flag, ladies and gentlemen, big red flag. If somebody takes feedback poorly, it's a massive red. What do you mean, Abel? I'm a great barber. What do you mean I can cut anything? Oh, okay, calm down. Got to calm down here, pal, because, otherwise it gets messy.
Oh, it does. And it's a difficult one. So, another one is
Last one.
I got you. When do you see yourself, do you feel prepared and ready to scale for more employees and bring more people into your team?
Yes.
Confidently.
Yes.
Love that.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I've actually just done the interview process, the recruitment process. We got questions and scenario-based questions.
Okay.
Where you have to rank things in certain priorities, and then I will call you if it takes about 10 minutes. So go on LinkedIn next week. But it's a scenario-based interview.
Okay.
Which is great. So yeah, I love it. I love doing that.
You already know.
Anyway, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Abel, it's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you
so much.
Pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having me.
I hope
I'm
you
blessed.
enjoyed it.
No, I did. This is cool, Dave.
There you go.
No, you have great stuff. Please reach out to me or book a haircut at the shop. It's the barba.shop as our link. We don't use .com. It's .shop. And yeah, man, Nick, thank you so much for having me. Wishing you more success and wishing you the best in your next venture. Absolutely,
Cheers.
man.
Oh, Abel, 10 out of 10. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man.